Hi guys, Andy May here. Welcome back to the channel, and it is finally time for step 4 on our makeup basics, which is eyes. Now, like I've said about every category, it's extremely personal on what you prefer, what you like to do, etc. But I'm gonna kind of get into what I personally do. Now, I do like to put a primer on my eyelids. Some people don't use a primer. Some people use the little potted colors like by MAC, and who else does them? I don't know. A lot of people like to put a cream colored base down. I typically find that my lids will crease with those type of things, so I prefer more of an actual primer. I have a couple here. The one that I'm currently using up is the Lorac Behind the Scenes Primer. This is just your basic everyday primer. And then I do have a tinted eye primer, so this one has a shimmer to it. This is by Ulta. And then I also have a glitter primer by NYX, which is to help if you have a more glittery eyeshadow that you're putting on or actual glitter. This helps that stick to your eyelid and not end up in your retinas. So we are going to go in with the Lorac primer here. Now, this one comes out like a little cream type of base. I like to put this mainly on my lid space, and then I don't go all the way up to my brow, but I will blend outwards so that it'll kind of cover in and out of the crease type of area. I would put more on if I were going for a more extreme look. If I was going smoky, then I would actually put the cream or the primer all the way up to my brow, because smoky eyes just end up intense and kind of out there. But I do like to just kind of cover everything with the primer, because I do have hooded lids, so I do crease. Now I like to go in with a bigger, semi-fluffy, like a shader brush, with a matte cream type shade, and I like to set my entire lid space with this. The whole thing. Just so that I have a nice pretty base to blend off of, and it kind of covers up any of the discoloration that I had going on my lids. You'll see kind of the red veining go away. I think that's why a lot of people use the potted concealers. A lot of them will use those and then they don't even set it because it kind of does all of this in one, but I just crease with those type of things. I am working out of the Tartelette in Bloom palette. This is my #1 palette of life, to be honest. It has a really nice mixture of mattes and shimmers. Has my favorite shade ever, Funny Girl, in here, so that's just what I'm going with. This has literally everything that I need. I tend to do my eyeshadow a certain way almost every single time. I very rarely stray from it. So we're gonna go into that. This is just kind of basic everyday makeup. This isn't anything super fancy. This is the shape that I prefer. You will want to play around with your makeup to see exactly what you like, what fits your eye shape. If you have a hood, if you don't have a hood, if you have a gorgeous like lid space that you can just do amazing things with, it's just your preference. There's lots of different tutorials on this. This is basically just every day, I need to go to work, I don't want to think about what I'm doing kind of makeup for me. So I'm going to take a, well, look, I can hold it in front of my computer. A fluffy brush. This is by Wet n Wild. This is one of their blending brushes, but it looks like this. And I like to go in with a lighter shade like this that I can kind of buff out, and it doesn't look like I've got a crazy amount of color. I do dip in. I always tap off. And, oh, let me use the mirror on this one because it's closer. I start here and kind of blend. I'm not actually in my crease because my crease is here, which you don't even see when I open my lid. So I try to work in the space that you will, I still hold my eyebrows up when I do it too. I don't know, it's just something I do. I've always done it. And I kind of work this shade up here so that it kind of is where everything will blend out, and you'll see it when my eye is completely open. And I just kind of build up the color. I will do circles, I will do windshield, and I just want to blend everything out. That's why I really like the Tartelette in Bloom palette, because it really does, I mean, look, this is real time. I didn't fast forward any of it, and my eyeshadow is pretty much done, and I feel like I'm getting really low on this color. This color I'm using is Sweetheart, which is that pinky matte shade. I do prefer to put mattes in my crease and blend up here with, because I don't want to emphasize how hooded my eyes are. I like everything to look like a normal person with, I say normal, but a lot of people have hooded eyes. So I just constantly, as I'm kind of building everything up, I hold my eyes open like this while I'm blending, but I do kind of do my work and kind of measure, see if they both look even, because this eyelid is, like, this part is heavier than what this one is. This is, again, my good side, I guess. But I kind of make sure that they're even, make sure they look about the same, and then I stop there. What I do next is I pick a shade that's a little darker. So I'm going to go with Rebel, which is this shade here. This is the one that I was just using. Then I'm going to use this shade. And I'm going to put this, sorry, Ellen works outside. I kind of dip into it. Oh, and I use one of these. This is kind of like a concealer, like a face brush, but I really like this shape where it's really round for the outside of my eye. I just kind of focus here and drag towards, like down towards the center of my eyelid to kind of get it placed where I want it. And then I circular motions. I don't really do anything other than the circular motions to begin with until I've got it as deepened as I want it to be. This is the way I do my eyeshadow. I promise you, 9 times out of 10. Like, this is just, it doesn't require me to think. Now, I will, once it's kind of the darkness that I want it to be, I will work a little. I won't go all the way in, but I will go, like, I work this shade here in circular motions. That's all I really do. I do this to get it to my lash line. I do circular motions, and then I take that and with basically whatever's on the brush, I kind of blend it into my real crease and into that, what do they call that shade? Whatever that shade is that I put up there. So that's just what I do. So it's kind of my outer V is what I'm working on here. And again, it just blends out nice. So now this has like a deepened outer V compared to this side, and it's just the shadow style, the eye shape that I personally prefer. But I do really recommend soft brushes. You don't want it to feel even slightly scratchy on your eyelid because you don't want to tear them up, to be honest. But again, I'm trying to keep all of this real time. Hopefully I'll be able to with editing. So you guys can see that this really doesn't take me that long. These shadows blend out beautifully and it makes life super easy. So that's kind of the outer V shape that I like to do. And then I'll take a smaller, more dense brush like this. This one is by e.l.f. This is their crease brush. And I dip in that same darker shade that I was using. And I put this messily on my lower lash line. I just kind of work it back and forth. That's all I do. I also have like actual smudger brushes that I'll do this with. But really you just want something that's dense, gonna pack a lot of color and close to your lash line. Now once I've done that and I've got what I want it placed, I go back into that blend crease shade, the lighter shade, and I loosely, with the blending brush that I did it with, just run it along my lash line. I'm not trying to be pretty with it. I just need it to blend out the darker color that I put there and kind of match the top. So just makes life easy. And that's basically all that I do on my eyes. Now, I will wear my shadow just like this. Most of the time though, I will put a shimmery shade, and I don't really use a brush for this. I just use my finger and I go in where I want it to be on my lid. I usually put it on the first like 2/3 and try to get it nice and precisely placed. I go back in with my little pink crease brush. I don't put anything extra on it, and I run it along here to blend out where I place that lid shade so that it doesn't have like a stark demarcation. How do you say that word? Mark on the top there, and I take my darker shade brush here and I do just swirl a little here so that it blends back into that darker shade And there's, again, a nice smooth transition, not something that's like shimmer, dark shade, if you know what I mean. And that is honestly that I do as far as shadow on a daily basis. Now we're getting into liner. So there's a couple different types of liners. This one is a nice easy one for me to show you because we have a felt tip on one side. This is what I prefer. And then you have a pencil liner on the other side, which is also what I prefer. For liquid liners, there are also like brush tips and stuff like that, and I'm just not very good at that. I just got liner on my hand. But what I typically do on a daily basis, I normally don't do a wing. If I do a wing, I do prefer the Vamp Stamp and Vink. This is just what lets me make a wing, but 9 times out of 10, I'm not doing that. I am just putting black liner. Let me use my palette here so I can see better. I am running a black liner on my tight line up here, and it just deepens my lash line. So that my eyelashes look fuller. See, this already looks fuller than this side. So I'm going to put that up here. And on a typical day, I do not line my waterline underneath there. I know a lot of people like to use a lighter color there. I do have one that NYX sent me, or that I got as a free gift, that is faux whites, and it's purple lavender, so it's really brightening. A lot of times people like to put this on the lower lash line, kind of brightens your eyes. That's just an extra step that I don't tend to do. It's not necessary. A lot of times I will take the liquid liner and run it along the top of my lid and not do a wing, but that's just if I have the extra time. That's not a necessary step for me personally. Now we're on to mascara, which is kind of the last step that's going to be in this video, and I have a couple. There are 2 basic differences in your mascara wands. One, you're going to have a plastic silicone type of brush. It's like this. Or you're going to have a natural bristle brush that is more like this. I personally don't have a definite preference. Like, I'll use either one. I think they both work fine on my eyelashes. I don't feel like I need a specific one. I like the separation that I can get from a plastic one, but I like the volume that a natural bristle will give me, and a lot of it has to deal with the formula. Now with mascaras, you're going to come across usually 2 types of formulas. You're going to have a dry formula, or you're going to have a wet formula. I don't like super wet formulas, which is easy to fix. You just kind of use a mascara a couple times and it naturally dries out. Dry formulas I hate the most because those just tend to flake. They don't last very well. And then I do prefer to use a smaller bristle brush for my lower lash lines. It just makes life easier, to be honest. I don't need a lot of volume or craziness happening on the bottom of my lash line. I just want to be able to see them again after I've put on all this makeup. So I have been enjoying the Wet n Wild Skinny Mascara. I got it from Ulta. It looks like it's Ulta online only, I think. I used to just try to use my regular wands on my lower lash line and it always made a mess. So that is what I prefer to do now. And the true last step in makeup, and I kind of skip this step a lot, kind of depends on what I'm doing for the day. If I'm putting on makeup and we're just going to run errands, we're going to be gone for 3-4 hours and come home, I won't put on a setting spray. If I'm going to work, I will put on a setting spray just so that I know my makeup will last the full 10-hour day. But I have the Urban Decay All Nighter, which is kind of a like, your face is staying there. And then I have the Too Faced Hangover RX 3-in-1 Replenishing Primer and Setting Spray. This one's not as like, on your face, but both are really nice. I'm going with the Too Faced because I don't need my makeup to stay on forever today. So that is everything for the makeup basics. Now, if you guys would like me to go more in detail on certain things, I can definitely do that. If you would like more eyeshadow looks, I guess I can do that. I think the quality will be all right for me to do tutorial type of videos. Let me know. Feel kind of weird doing that because, again, I'm not a makeup artist. But give me a big thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I do hope to see you in the next one. Bye, guys!